ladies and gentlemen, let me do a cost-benefit analysis. Let me prove to you what we as the side opposition have brought out and they as the side proposition has brought out. Now we brought out two main arguments. One was about the productivity. We explained how the youth were more productive than the senior citizens. We explained how the youth were much more energetic, how much more capability they had, how much more passion they had, and of course how much little chance they had of actually getting diseases, getting heart attacks and so on and so forth. Then we came to the topic of youth unemployment. We proved to you how raising the retirement age causes youth unemployment. We proved to you that it is very bad to raise the retirement age because the youth will be unemployed, and these are the energetic forces that we have to employ, and at the end of the day we have to employ them at one point or other, so we should employ them now. They as a side opposition brought out this argument about life expectancy. They believe that just because the life expectancy goes up just means that we should raise a retirement age also. They believe that human beings are machines, ladies and gentlemen. They are not machines. They have feelings, ladies and gentlemen. These people have worked hard for all their life, and the proposition believes that we can just exploit them as long as they die, as long up to the point where they end up in a wheelchair. We have to get the maximum use of them. We have to squeeze all the juice out of them. That is not what we believe, ladies and gentlemen. We as the opposition have feelings, unlike the dear old opposition here. We believe that these people deserve a chance to rest, not while they are in a wheelchair, ladies and gentlemen, while they are still capable of having some fun. Also, they talk about how the youth are incapable, how the youth are just technologically crazy about technology. This is the ICT era, ladies and gentlemen, which is why the youth need to know about technology. Thank you.
Respected judges and the members of the House, I think my team gave you a very good idea about why the retirement age should increase. And as my colleague said, the older people have experience and they are expertised in their fields. And if they do have skills, and they can pass it on to their younger generation. And why can't you accept their skills and let them pass it on to their younger generation? And why can't you accept from it? And why do you want to decline the services of an old man an elder man, when he is efficient and when he can provide the service to the organization? And also, the elder people in our country has the capability and the capacity to provide services to our country. Do you think calling a 57-year-old man an aged man like an old man? I don't agree with that. And also, from the point of view of the person who is about to retire, if he is needed by his family to support them economically, and if he is strong enough to support his family, and if he is willing to do work, why do you want to sit him home idling, and why do you want to just drop out of the job? And also, I would like to ask you, you are talking about spending the life with grandchildren. How many people in our country do have grandchildren to spend their life with in 57 years? I mean, I'm talking about the partial life cycle of Sri Lanka. And also, you're talking about voluntary retirement of a famous banking corporation in Sri Lanka. They gave them a lump amount and asked them to retire if they wish to. Isn't there any difference between asking a man to retire if you wish to and forcing them to retire when they reach a particular age limit? And also, touch your heart and tell me, think about the mentality of those people. If you are about to reach that 57 years, and if you are asked to forcibly retire from your job, and if you are not willing to do that, will you do that? Tell me that. Will you be willing to retire? Thank you.
The topic on debate today, the age of retirement should not be increased. The proposition, Hindu Ladies College stated that the youth lacks experience, they lack the commitment, and they lack the knowledge to fill the shoes of a veteran worker. DSNI College stated that old people are weak, old people are slow. That's why they're called old people. Regardless of your age, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of where you stand in your career, this is a very pertinent topic.
And while the judges calculate the results of this very close debate, we are ready to move into a short commercial break.
Before we come to the verdict, we have to talk to three extremely important and distinguished personalities. They are, of course, our judges this evening. First and foremost, Mr. Rohan Samarajiva.
The bottom line is that it's not a zero-sum game. One job taken out from one place doesn't necessarily result in another job being created. It all depends about the efficiency, the productivity of the organization. And unfortunately, that didn't seem to be addressed. The demographic issue that came up but was not fully exploited is extremely important because somebody's got to pay the bills. Pensions are basically, there's no money specifically allocated for paying pensions. And that means that a smaller number of people in the workforce, in the working age, will have to be supporting a larger number of people in the technically compelled to be non-working stage. So there's a very big demographic and economic argument involved here. The issue of trying to frame it in terms of humanitarian issues about humanity and people relaxing in front of the TV, etc. I mean, that's okay, but there's a bigger issue that all countries are today dealing with as the population ages, which is who pays the bills.
The debate was handled efficiently by both teams. They are both to be congratulated. But in the meantime, I must also say that I must be critical of both teams, that the content that have been reached by both teams have not been far-reaching. For instance, countries like USA, talking about our own profession, legal profession in Sri Lanka, the lawyers go on working till they drop dead. Well, and the most senior lawyers, at a very late stage, they present the best of arguments in court. Well, that's in Sri Lanka. Well, in other countries like take USA, in the federal court, the judges retire when they feel like retiring. They can go on till they die. Well, there's another problem, economic problem. Take the pensioners, they are getting little, maybe 1/3 or a small portion less than the substantive salary when they are retired. But if you pay them that amount of salaries, the full salary, they will be giving their best of service to the job that they were doing at a more mature level. Youth are required, the elderly people are also required. So you have to go out of the social aspect of the sympathy and giving employment to the youth and all that. But finally, the most important thing is to make the institution do better. So I think we didn't move away from the sympathy and those small issues.
I think both teams could have prepared a little bit more because content is a very big part of a debate. It's not just delivery and it's not just strategy. You can be the best speaker, you can be the loudest speaker, but if you don't have much substance in your arguments, then ultimately you probably would not win the debate. So we have to keep that in mind because as the other judges have pointed out, you started out with a lot of good facts, both teams, but then towards the end it became redundant. Some of the arguments became a little trivial. We weren't focusing on some of the important points. So I think that's a piece of advice that both teams can use.
It's about that point of time on the show that we start dishing away awards for individuals who performed extremely well. One such award that we need to give out at this point is the Best Speaker Award provided by Achievers.
And to announce the recipient of the Top Achievers Award, which is given away to the best speaker of today's tournament, we would like to invite Professor Rohan Samarajiva.
The best speaker was Dushara Ragavachari.
We'd now like to call the best speaker of today's debate on stage. We have one little thing that we're going to ask you to do. First and foremost, walk down there and the panel of judges will hand you an envelope. So let's open the envelope. Let's tell our viewers, your fans, what the verdict of the debate is.
The winners are Hindu Ladies College.
To give give away the awards, we'd like to welcome on stage two very distinguished personalities, Mr. Rohan Samarjeeva and Mr. Upul Tashure.
Now we're ready to present the certificates for the participating team. Let me invite the debaters of DSN and Anchor College on stage.
The winners of today's debate, Hindu Ladies College.
Tonight's elimination, DSN and Anchor College, Colombo. Send in your judgment to 7788. If your preference is DSN and Anchor College, send in your SMS to MTVTD space DS. If your preference is Hindu Ladies College, Colombo, send in your SMS to MTVTD space HLC.
That basically ends the proceedings for this evening. Join us again next week on the same time, same channel. See you then.
Gentlemen, this is where our fundamental argument comes in.
Internet has a positive impact on you.
Which is made by the user, but not by the internet.
That the internet does not have an impact. But the user can derive an impact from the internet.